Hello, I'm Elias-Bursać, and it's my great honor today to present the work of Damir Karakaš, a Croatian writer. He has written a novel, Proslava. Damir, you have a copy of, yeah, there it is, Proslava. And it has now appeared in the States with this translation and in the UK with this edition, which is also coming out shortly. And we're going to be reading today from the beginning of the book, starting with the first chapter, which we're just for a few minutes, House. And it starts in 1945 in a scene where the principal character, the protagonist, Mijo, has returned from World War II, where he was fighting with the fascist forces, and he's coming back to his village, but he's hiding out because he's being sought by the regime who want to eliminate people who fought with the fascist forces. So Damir first will read two paragraphs, then I will read those in English, and then he will read the next paragraph, and I'll read that in English. So Damir, it's for you.
Noć, crna šuma, skeletna ruka koja je iznenada pred njim izrasla. Zgrabio je pušku i povikao, nikada me nećete uvatiti. Kad je povukao kidač, probudio se i polako podigao na laktove. Jednim okom gleda, drugim osluškuje. Onda se polako svali natrag u mekano udubljenje između dviju zlatolistnih bukava. Ležao je umotan u sivu vojničku deku, pokušavajući kroz maglu ponovno protjerati pogled, ali dalje nije ništa vidio. Iz jedne magle valjala se druga, još gušća, tako da nije mogao vidjeti ni vlastitu pušku pored dugih i utrnulih udova. U tišini počeo iznova osluškivati. Stavio dlani za uha da bolje pohvata zvukove, duboko ušima kucao im u žile drveća. Malo poslije zapuhao je vjetar, bio je sve jači, hladniji. U jednom mu se trenu učini da to vjetar duboko u šumi svira kroz nečije šuplje kosti. On odmah pomisli na sve one ljudske kosti koje će godinama nakon rata raznositi zvijeri.
So, night, a black forest, a skeletal arm suddenly loomed up before him. He grabbed his rifle and yelled, "You'll never catch me." When he pulled the trigger, he woke and propped himself up slowly on his elbows. With one eye, he watched. With the other, he listened. Then he sank slowly back down into the soft dip between the two gold-leafed beech trees. Wrapped in a gray army blanket, he lay there, trying again to propel his gaze through the fog. But still he couldn't see a thing. After the first patch, a denser fog had rolled in, and he couldn't even see his own rifle next to his long, numb limbs. In silence, he began again to listen. He cupped his hand to his ear to better catch the sounds. Deep in his ears throbbed the sinews of the trees. After a little bit of breeze picked up, it grew stronger, colder. At one point, the wind deep in the forest seemed to be thrumming through someone's hollow bones. The thought flashed through his mind of all the human bones that would be carried off by beasts for years after the war. Damir?
Probudilo ga je sunce. Toliko je jako pripeklo da je morao uzeti čuturicu, namočiti dlan i protrljati u sijani potiljak. Potom je sunce izdajnički bljesnulo cijev puške, pa ju je u trenu ugurao pod iskrzani rub deke. Dublje se zbio u granje, namjestio ispred nosa nekoliko grana da bude što manje vidljiv, a njegova žučasto smeđa odora, zbog kojeg su ih neki zvali žute mačke, savršeno se stapala sa sve debljim naslagama lišća. No to opadanje lišća počelo ga je svaki novim palim listom koji bi mu nevidljivim nitima privukao pogled pomalo zabrinjavajući. Kad šuma posve ogoli, a na granama ne bude više nijednog lista, sve će postati jasnije, uočljivije. Srećom pomisli uskoro će kako se detaljno dogovorio sa ženom kad je neku večer pod okriljem mraka dopuzao do kuće i prvi put je nakon dugo vremena vidio biti gotovo skrovište, u kojem ga nitko nikada neće moći pronaći. Ponovno tjeran od te slike tajna skrovita mjesta počeo ispod oka motriti dolje. Samo je selo tih 10 kuća izgrađenih od grubo tesanih jelovih dasaka i pokrivenih šindrom, ovako treparavo izmaglici izgledalo poput slike iz koje ljudi u odorama čas izlaze, čas ulaze. Vidio je, kao i prijašnjih dana, kako se sturenim puškama traže, bodu bajonetama stogove sjena. Pogled mu taman zapne za jednog vojnika, stalno ga je držao na oku. Vojnik je neko vrijeme, kao da je sam sebi dovoljno ukipljeno stajao na dvorištu, zatim je ušao u kuću, on se pokretao ruke bržim od misli trzne, tako da nije znao što zapravo hoće s tom svojom ispruženom rukom. Zatim između dvaju izoštrenih pogleda na selo pomisli, je li mu ona, njegova drenka, sve ovo vrijeme rata bila vjerna. Odmah se sjeti da se zato njome i oženio jer je znao da ga ona nikada neće izdati, prevariti. Uvijek je to vidio u njezinim očima, još od onda kad ju je prvi put ugledao, kad su jedno drugome plešući u kolu očima slali osmijehe. Vojnik je brzo izišao iz kuće, zakoračio u staju, opet se pojavio 2 put otresao čizme. Za njim su na dvorište odnekud prisigla još dvojica, ali u tamnim šinjelima, ovejnim plaštovima. Njihovi dugi i oštri bajoneti nasađeni na puške blještali su kao da su pokupili svu svjetlost dana. Hodali su, pojavljivali se između stogova, nestajali, ulazili i izlazili iz kuća, ležao je i motrio svaki njihov pokret.
The sun woke him. It scorched so harshly that he had to take his canteen, wet his hand, and rub the white hot nape of his neck. Then the sunlight flashed traitorously on the barrel of his rifle, so he drew it quickly under the frayed edge of the blanket. He squirmed his way deeper in among the branches, arranged several of them in front of his nose to be as out of sight as possible, and his yellow-brown Ustasa uniform, that had some calling them tawny cats, melded perfectly in with the thickening layer of leaves. But with each new leaf that fell, the leaves tugged with invisible threads at his gaze and began to worry him a little. Once the forest was laid bare, not a single leaf was left on the branches. Everything would be visible, exposed to view. Luckily, he thought, soon, as he had discussed in detail with his wife when he crept to the house under the cover of darkness one evening and had seen her for the first time after a long while, his hiding place would be ready, and nobody would ever be able to find him there. Moved again by the thought of his secret hiding place, he began focusing on what was going on below. Now the village, the dozen houses built of roughly hewn fir boards and roofed with shingles, was picture-like in the shimmering mist, with men in uniforms coming and going. He saw, as he had for the last few days, that they were searching with their guns at the ready, stabbing their bayonets into the haystacks. His gaze was drawn just then to one particular soldier. He kept his eyes on the man. For a time, as if self-sufficient, the soldier stood stock still in the yard, and then went into the house. He winced with his hand moving toward his gun quicker than thought, so he couldn't be sure what he'd really meant to do with his outstretched hand. Then between two sharpened glances at the village, he wondered if she, his Drenka, had been faithful to him all through the war. He remembered straight away that this was why he'd married her, because he knew she would never betray him, cheat on him. He always saw that in her eyes, ever since the first time he'd caught sight of her, when they were dancing in a circle, and with their eyes they sent each other smiles. The soldier left the house quickly, went into the barn, then appeared again and twice stomped his boots. Another 2 men appeared from somewhere in the yard, in dark overcoats with capes flung over them, their long and sharp bayonets affixed to their guns, shone as if they'd gathered up all the light of the day. They walked around. There they were between the haystacks, then gone, going in and out of the houses. He lay where he was and watched their every move.